Hey guys, it's Tom. It is about 9 o'clock the night before Thanksgiving. And all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. I'm here to do a SOMIFA mid-season show, mid-season review, if you will, or whatever. I'm flying solo tonight. Dennis not available to be with me. I'm going to try and keep it moving. Maybe keep it to about a 90-minute show, which would be nice. I just saw that you can only broadcast on YouTube for up to 8 hours through this this particular live events thing or new event thing. I'll have to keep that in mind for the next draft recap next year. After I went 6 hours and 45 minutes this year, some people felt a little lengthy, and they're probably right about that. I am screen sharing and presenting to everyone. I'm a little rusty here, so trying to make sure that I have everything correct. So we're going to look at the standings. If you're a YouTuber who doesn't know anything about what the hell I'm talking about, I play a game called Strat-O-Matic football with a bunch of guys around the country. There's a fairly small online community, probably over 100 guys in the online community. Many more who play solo, and there's a forum called the Strat-O-Matic Fan Forum. This is all based on the Strat-O-Matic football game from the Strat-O-Matic Game Company, which has been around since the early 60s. Started as a dice and cards game with baseball and branched out into the other sports. And around the year 2000 or so, they computerized the football game. They had computerized baseball earlier. Baseball is their #1 seller. And I'm really doing this show for the league members, but anyone, of course, can listen. You might find it a little boring to hear talk about a league that you're not in. But anyway, certainly if you're not a guy who plays in other Strat leagues or who I don't already know, like there are some. This is the SOMIFA league. There are some non-SOMIFA coaches who I know listen to these shows, which is fine. That makes some sense. But I'm saying if you're just like a general YouTube person, doesn't know much about, who isn't in the online football community at all, Strat football online community, you would wonder what the hell I'm talking about. So anyway, got to start with the standings, of course. And the first thing I wanted to notice and to point out, a lot of parity this year so far. Now, Dennis and I thought it would be that way coming into the season. I don't think we saw really a lot of teams at the top of the standings. Okay, I have this thing here I did, which puts the current standings alphabetically against our predictions, which were alphabetical, and made it a little easier for me to reference. But we had only picked, I think, Oakland. We had both picked for 12-4. He had picked Tennessee for 12-4. I had Seattle 14-2. Dennis had them 13-3. So Dennis also had Atlanta 12-4, but we only had two teams that consensus would be 12-4 better, Oakland and Seattle. And a lot of teams in that 6-10, 7-9, 8-8, 9-7 range. And so that part has played out pretty well, even though we've been terribly off with a lot of our predictions, some of our predictions, including at the top, which we'll get to in a minute. But basically, we played half the season, 8 games, and 17 of the 24 teams in the league, are within a game of 500. They're either 4-4, 3-5, or 5-3. I guess it's not a game; it's 2 games. But anyway, they're either 4-4, 3-5, or 5-3, which is 17 out of 74. We only have 3 teams that are better than 6-2. Sorry, only 3 teams that are. I'm really rusty. Only 3 teams that are better than 5-3. Okay, that's Arizona and Oakland at 7-1, and Dennis the Seahawks at 6-2. That's amazing to me. But that's the way the league is right now. We talked a little bit either on the forum or in one of maybe the preseason preview show about how the league has changed. It's gone from first, 10 years of the league. It basically had 3 guys winning all the championships. And now you've had, I think, like 5 different guys in the past 5 years. I have that here, thankfully. It's nice when you have things a little organized. I'm pretty sure that's I say basically 3 guys. Wayne got in there and won 1. Otherwise, I think it was all Paul, Ron, Martin, and Ed. Just going off from memory here. So if I'm wrong, feel free to tell me. But then from 2012 to the present, Scott won it in 2012. Zeb won it in 2013. And Dennis won it in 2014. Jay Villing in 2015. And Dale in 2016. So you go out for the league dominated by 3 guys for about a decade. The last 5 years, none of those 3 guys have won the Super Bowl. And we've had 5 different coaches win it, each of whom was a first-time SOMIFA champion. So different type of league in terms of the parity and the competitiveness and stuff like that, which is good, right? Because I guess everyone should feel like they have a chance. People think, a lot of people feel like you should feel that way anyway, but you should feel even more so if you see the league producing champions in this fashion. Which brings us, of course, to the number one, well, there's 2 number 1 teams. One expected and one big surprise, and we'll start with the surprise. The Arizona Cardinals, under Bob, are 7-1. Dennis and I predicted them. I predicted 6-10. Dennis predicted 4-12. So predicted for 10+ losses by both Dennis and me. Through 8 games, Bob has clinched a single loss season. He cannot lose 10 games. He's 7-1. He lost every game. He'd be 7-9. So Dennis and I clearly way off on that one. Now, Bob had overachieved a couple years ago with a team that we thought would do very poorly. Went to 9-7. I think lost in the mini playoffs. But tremendous job by this team. And then one of his opponents posted in a season 2 recap that they thought that we were way off on our prediction after he played Bob's team. And let's see how Bob is getting it done. Oh, I forgot that I did something here. Bear with me a moment. I hope this is properly live. But I brought up the season stats in a way to make it a little easier to refer to them for me. Stop broadcast, no. Everything here is good. Screen sharing and presenting seems good. So you got this team. I mean, they're being out. He's 7-1. They're being outgained from a scrimmage. Okay, by about 100 yards. You can make up for that with turnovers sometimes, and he's plus 12 in turnovers. Now, he does have Joe Flacco, and he's apparently with a bit of a West Coast approach here. You see 66% completed, a 6.7 average gain. Only 2 picks for Joe. And presumably these running backs are low fumble. LeGarrette Blount and Alvin Kamara. Kamara doing a very nice job here with a 7-yard rushing average on a team that's throwing 252 throwing 252 running 216. But 3 turnovers, 15 received. The average team is receiving about 8 turnovers. So that's probably unsustainable. But, Bob doesn't have to go 7-1 again. You can go 5-3 and have a beautiful 12-4 year, or even goes 4-4. At this point, look, he only wins about 3 games. You want to go at least 4-4, but as long as he wins at least 3 games, I mean, he's automatically in the playoffs and looking good. Either going to host a wild card round or better. Of course, should not be thinking wild card at 7-1. Should be thinking, high seed. And let's look at who some of these victories were against. He defeated me by 2 points. That was a close game. He defeated Paul, who's, of course, no, it was TJ. Defeated TJ, whose team is struggling a little, by a field goal. You see a lot of close games here. Defeated Brad, defeated the Rams, who were doing pretty well at 5-3, also exceeding our expectations. So one loss was by 1 point to Paul. Defeated Tim, who's rebuilding. Defeated Nathan, 27-23. Nathan's team struggling a little more than expected. And defeated the Steelers, 29-23. So not a lot of real good wins on the schedule. But again, you only have 7 teams that are above 500 right now. So, and when you're one of them, how many good teams can you get? Let's see what's on the second half of the schedule for Arizona. Kansas City, San Francisco is good. Seattle, of course, is real good. Buffalo rebuilding. Giants currently struggling, but definitely can get hot and in the mix. Green Bay 500. Oakland real good. Minnesota about 500. The defending champions are 500. So you got 3 pretty tough games in there at a minimum. San Francisco, Seattle, and Oakland. So Bob will be tested a little harder here in the second half. But again, a 7-1 is a tremendous job by him. I have to add these stat files that I did. Bob is 4th in the league in point differential, so that's pretty solid, right? And team offense. Again, we said he's getting outgained, so he's only number 12 in total offense and number 15 in total defense. But he's number 1 by far in turnover differential, +5, which is it's a big spread between 1 and 2. He's +12 for the year, and with a 5 turnover, a differential of 5 greater than the number 2 team, with the Rams and the Packers tied at number 2 with a +7. There are not that many turnovers this year in the league. I saw that the average team is only giving or receiving 8 2/3 turnovers. Okay, with it seems very low. It's only a touch more than 1 a game, right? And part of that is that we have a 1.9% interception percentage this year. Last year was 2.7. Well, the completion percentages and the average gain are similar. Strat reduced the interceptions on the flat pass column and the other columns on these draft league defensive cards. And it looks like the result in SOMIFA will be a reduction of about 4 interceptions a year per team on average. So the turnovers are down, which means if if the average team is only doing 8 2/3, you're +12, averaging +1.5 per game. That's really going to help a lot, of course. So nice job by Bob there. 7-1. Second half looks tougher. I'm not going to make predictions tonight. But if I had to, maybe I would just 11-5 or something, because some of the games are real tough. And I didn't love the personnel coming into the season. He's done a great job. It does get harder when you got to face some of these harder teams, but we predicted for 10+ losses. So what can I say? Tremendous job. The Oakland Raiders, on the other hand, that's Jeff Bevier's team. He's tied with Bob for the 1 seed here at the midway point of the 2017 SOMIFA season. He has a 7-1 record, and he was expected to do real well. Dennis and I each had him 12-4. I don't recall if Dennis predicted him to make the Super Bowl or not. I don't remember my own Super Bowl prediction, but that was the second best regular season record I had. I had Dennis at 14-2 first. I had Jeff second. Dennis had him in his top 3 or 4, although in Tennessee and Atlanta, 12-4 from Dennis's prediction. And you can see why. I wrote about it. He's got the Tyrod Taylor card, is pretty decent. Todd Gurley's probably the best all-around running back card, certainly for a full-time guy in this set. And he's got a pretty good defense, including 2 linebackers, 6s against the pass. In a set where everyone else has got 4s, and people in SOMIFA start having to start some 0s against the pass. And you can see where Oakland has a major advantage. And I think compared to Arizona, you'll see probably some more statistical dominance from the Raiders. Let's see if that's true. Jeff's plus about 360 yards from scrimmage, which is pretty good. He had -3 in turnovers. Actually, no, he's +3 in turnovers. Again, you see some of these teams with the good turnover differentials. Quarterbacks look a little flat pass heavy. Taylor's completing 68% with a 6.6 average gain. I actually did some individual stat spreadsheet stuff here. So Tyrod's 4th in the league in quarterback rating, tied for the league in touchdowns. 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 290 attempts in 8 games. So he is throwing it over 30 times a game. You've got a team with 290 passing attempts and 207 rushing attempts, with basically all those being by Gurley and Tyrod Taylor, each of whom are averaging over 5 yards a carry. Gurley with almost 1,400 yards from scrimmage, it looks like. Over 1,400. 882, 1382. Yeah, more about 1,450 yards from scrimmage. And you can see why Jeff's doing well. Does he lead the league in scoring? I know he's up there. Yes, he's the number one scoring offense in the league with 213 points. It's 26.6. The league's averaging about 21.2, 21.3 this year. So it's about 21 points a game, pretty much just a fraction over that. And Jeff's leading the way, 26.6 points scored. And he's number 9 in defense, 19.5 allowed. So that's a very healthy differential. He's got the number 2 differential in the league behind Dennis at plus 57 point differential. And that's only 1 point behind Dennis, who's at plus 58. Let's look at some of this performance so far for Jeff. His one loss was to Dennis, 30-24. That could come up in tiebreakers at the end of the season, as these teams are currently 1 game apart in the standings, but Dennis has a tiebreaker. So that could come up for seeding. And then the wins. He beat Tampa Bay, who's rebuilding. Beat Cincinnati. Jay's done a great job getting to 5-3 with that club. Beat Joe Golden in a close one. Joe, I think, has lost some close games. Beat NFL Ed by a touchdown. Beat Jeff Wendlandt in the Battle of the Jeffs by 10. That team is struggling. Jeff Wendlandt needs to get them going. Beat Tony, who's struggling by a field goal, and had his easiest victory of the season, 31-3 over Green Bay. Usually you might get a game like that in there somewhere if you're 7-1. Second half, you play Chicago's 2-6, Minnesota 4-4, Kansas City 4-4, Miami 3-5, but frisky. So that's not exactly a very tough block when you have a real good team like Jeff does. And he ends up with the Rams 5-3. Tennessee is 4-4, but maybe more expected out of them. Arizona 7-1, and Buffalo rebuilding. So, Jeff's got a couple of tough games in the fourth quarter. And it's funny, in this year of parity, when I look at these schedules, most of the guys are going to have a schedule that doesn't look real tough and doesn't look, super easy. But doesn't look real tough because there's not that many teams out there with a real good record. And some of the teams that are doing real well, if you look at the personnel, you might think they're overachieving. Arizona at 7-1, Jay Villing at 5-3, Zeb at 5-3, Wayne at 5-3, maybe, I think. You might rather face some of those teams than some of these 4-4 teams like Nathan's Atlanta Club or Tennessee, or even Jeff's Wendlandt's 3-5 Indianapolis Club. So the records this year, we're only halfway through, so a smaller sample, some could say. Might not be as indicative right now when you're looking at the rest of the season, but Jeff certainly had a couple of tough games left. But he could still easily get to 13-3 or so. Was 6-2, get to 13-3, 12-4, 13-3. I would not be surprised. You're going to lose some games. It's hard to run the table or something. Like one of these third quarter games, they'll probably lose. It's hard to get to 11-1. That would make him 10-2 going into the last block. I think, am I selling Wayne short? Did we predict Wayne for not as good as I thought? I had 9-7, and Dennis had 10-6. So actually, my apologies, Wayne. He's not really overachieving. He's doing a fine, solid job. And I should not minimize his team. Well, he was rebuilding a couple of years, so I got to get used to him back in the mix here. So we talk about Jeff Bevy. Spend a little extra time on the top teams, perhaps. Now he's third in the league in yards from scrimmage, while being the number one scoring offense. 366 yards. The average game is 326 yards per team so far in the league. We have a bit of a bigger spread offensively, which 378 for Seattle on top. Dennis had number one offense in yardage, and then Dale's defending champion Vikings, were for only 266 yards a game offensively, unless I made a mistake somewhere. So that had him dead last. That's about 110 yard spread. On defense, the spread is closer. It's 292 yards for Nathan who was the number 1 team. How's he 4-4? He must be turning the ball over like a banshee. -6. Okay. Nathan has the number 2 offense in yardage and the number 1 defense in yardage. Unless I messed this up somewhere. So I'll double check that. 292 yards allowed for Nathan, number 1. And the Packers with Dave Scott, 379 last. That's about a 90-yard differential. But the defensive yardage seems a little closer together than the offensive yardage until you get down to about number 18 to 24. The bottom quarter of the league is a bit behind. Whereas offensively, it's sort of like the top 9 teams seem way ahead. Then you have a drop-off, and then you get into the bottom 4 teams offensively. You're averaging 284 yards or fewer. Everyone else in the league is at 303 or better. Bottom 4, Buffalo, Chicago, Indianapolis, Minnesota. None of those teams have a winning record, although Minnesota is 500. So moving on to the number 3 team in the league. Well, I mentioned Tyrod Taylor's passing. I didn't look and see what Jeff was doing defensively, really. He's getting the turnovers. I mentioned the overall defense, where he is. Jeff was not. I thought he said he was number 9. Number 9 is scoring a lot. Okay, but number 11 in yardage. Interesting. All right, number 3 team in the league, Seattle Seahawks, are 6-2. It's our good friend Dennis Crowley. Dennis, number 2 in scoring, 25.9. And number 7 in defense, 18.6. More than one way to skin a cat. It's always interesting to look and see the breakdown for a guy like Dennis who likes to rush the passer. His 2 losses, he lost to Jeff Wendlandt, 14-6. And he lost a close one to Dave Scott's Green Bay Packers, who were 4-4 after, I think, a 1-3 start. They did start 1-3. So good job by Dave to bounce back in the second quarter. Let's look for the W's for Dennis. 34-17 over Joe Golden. 30-16 over Lawrence. 35-21 over Miami. Not the toughest trio. Nothing against those coaches. But none of those teams are above 500 right now. 2 of them are 3-5. And I think 2 of them are not projected to make the playoffs for what that's worth. Which isn't very much when you pick Arizona to go 4-12 and he's 7-1. Beat Detroit 31-21. Detroit's around 500, maybe under. Detroit's 4-4. Bradley Miller. Beat Jeff Bevia. That's a big win, 30-24. Beat Tony 79. It's not really the toughest first half schedule for Dennis. But look, Dennis has won so many championships and has so much success, and he's always in the playoffs and usually deep in the playoffs, that it almost doesn't matter. He's got a good team. He was predicted to be one of the top seeds. He's 6-2. He's probably going to be there at the end or near the end. And let's look who's remaining. He plays Tom Brady's Los Angeles Chargers under TJ. Plays Nathan, plays Bob 7-1, plays Ron Martin. The last quarter he plays Dallas 5-3, Chicago 3-5, Houston 4-4, and the Rams 5-3. So kind of a tougher second half schedule. But Dennis is so good. I'm sure his team will be right there at the end. Maybe look at some of the stats for a minute here. Now, we said the number 1 offense in the league Dennis has. He's number 2 in passer rating, which is how I sorted this. You can assume me if you don't like it. The average team is strong for 211 yards a game. That's not bad for a Strat League. And actually, when I looked at the quarterback file, quite a few quarterbacks on pace for over 4,000 yards. 1, 2, 3. I have 4 quarterbacks on pace for 4,000 yards, which seems a little high for this league. I don't mean that it's bad, but it's higher than usual. And Tom Brady on pace for over 4,700 yards, which is a really big number in this rules set in the SOMIFA league. And really in any Strat league, unless maybe you play the flat passes runs rule. Russell doing his thing, number 2 in the league in passer rating. Dennis likes to run the ball. And sure enough, the number one rushing attack in the league is Dennis Seahawks, 162 per game with a 4.8 average, 11 touchdowns. San Francisco, number 2. This is interesting. Tampa Bay is number 3, even though he's 2-6. So, but defensively, the team is struggling. It's a rebuilding team. So one of the bottom defenses of the league, which will do it to you. And also some of that running coming from the quarterback on must runs, which isn't the same as controlling the ball through a sustained ground game, calling runs for your backs. But the number 7 offensive league in scoring. Sorry, in yardage is for Tim. I don't want him jumping ahead to him. I just saw his team there. Well, because you have the high rushing place, number 3 in the league in rushing average. But then I know the team is 2-6. So interesting. On defense, Dennis is, I maybe spend more time on him because I'm his friend, but also he's so excellent. You're kind of curious to see how he's doing it or what he's doing. Number 9 in the league defensively in yardage. And number 7 in points, defensive points allowed. So that kind of goes together, kind of jives. And I think he's leading the league in sacks. 18 sacks for Dennis. Leads the league. Miami's second with 15. No, Minnesota's second with 16. The Chargers of Miami and Tampa Bay's got 16. So this is what happens when you don't have it sorted by sacks. You start missing some. Anyway, those teams are all top 5. But it's so interesting that Dennis, number 1 in the league in sacks. So he's allowing 204 passing yards per game net, which is certainly better than average. By passer rating, he'd be 15th, but that doesn't include the sack. Let's see. Then you move down to the 5 and 3 teams. You got Arizona, Oakland 7-1, Seattle 6-2. Then you got Cincinnati, Dallas, the Rams, and the Niners at 5 and 3. And you look to scoring, does not look that high for these teams. We were at over 200 points for Oakland and Seattle. Now you got 161, 171, 169, 167. While the defensive side, 143, 167, 127, 145. Dallas 5 and 3, but only a +4 point differential. Some people think that's indicative of a team maybe not being as good as the record. Maybe it comes down to earth. I don't know. Usually that's after 16 games. It's tough to make those types of conclusions after 8 games. You know, and also a guy like Zeb, he has a winning record pretty much every year. I think last year we predicted him for a winning. I think 2 years ago I predicted Zeb for losing record. He hit a winning record, and then I saw that he was always 500 or better. So last year I think we predicted him to have a winning record, a losing record. And this year we predicted a losing record. He was having a winning record. So Zeb is just trying to stick his thumb in the eye of Dennis and me with his performance. I'm sure that's a major factor instead of just trying to win. But he always has at least a pretty good year, which is nice. I mean, you look at it here. Last year was 7-9. Before that, 5 straight playoff appearances, no losing seasons. Won the Super Bowl back in 2013 and appeared in the Super Bowl back in 2006. So, he's real good. We're starting with the Bengals first, though, 5 and 3. I'll show the Niners, but this is alphabetical here. That's Jay's club. Started off 2 and 2. Another club that I don't think we liked this year. Well, Jay's one of the best coaches out there. But we just felt like this team, I think defensively particularly, was a little lackluster. Even offensively. Derek Carr and Jay Ajayi, it's not a great Derek Carr card. It's certainly not a great Jay Ajayi card. And defensively 3-4, but 4-4-5, 0-0-4-0 at linebacker. 4-4-5-5 in the secondary. Not a lot of pass rush to compensate. So that does not look like a team that should be doing well. But Jay won 3 out of 4 in the second quarter of the season, including a victory over Jeff Wenlett, 24-9, and a victory over Paul Mankiewicz, 2015. As Paul's Texans were only 4 and 4. We had them 11-5 and 10-6. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but you see the coaching quality. You're talking about Jay Villing, you're talking about Zeb, you're talking about Paul Mankiewicz. I mean, it just goes on and on in this league. So you can see why, a guy like Paul might be 4 and 4, which is uncharacteristic for him when he has a pretty decent team. And then Jay in the first quarter beat me 22-17. And he liked that so much, he also said he beat the other New York team. He beat Joe Golden 27-22 and lost a couple of close ones. A lot of close games. The defense really stepping up, boy. In the second quarter, in his 3 victories, he gave him 10, 9, and 15 points. But the defense I just showed you, that 3-4, let's be honest, kind of a weak-looking defense there. I'm sure Jay will be the first one to tell you that. And let's see how he's been doing it. The offense is number 15 in the league in yardage. In scoring at 20.1 points a game. Or should say the team. Number 4 in the league in points allowed, 17.9 with that group. With that motley crew of defenders. +4 in turnovers, which is nice. But, hardly a turnover-generating machine over there. And the defense, he has them 7th in the league in yardage. 311 yards a game. And he's doing it number 1 in the league in opponent rushing yardage. I like the 3-4, but with this 4-4-5-0-0-4-0, does have an inside linebacker 6 against the run and a right outside linebacker 6 against the run. So maybe he's bringing them up and people running left. I want to try to run right. This defense offers you so much. You should be able to take advantage of it. My offense isn't very good, so I couldn't. But other guys, I would think, would be able to, even though Jay's a great coach. And then the pass defense, he's consistent. He's also, that's 5th in the league in opponent passer rating. 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He is giving up 222 yards per game. 12 sacks is reasonable. Only 55% completed, just under that, 54.9. One of the better marks in the league. The league's completing about 60%, 59.8. But tremendous job by Jay. You got to tip your hat when you see something like that. That team's not. The defense is not good on paper. The whole team's not that great on paper. I know I saw Jay Ajayi was having a good year for him. Let's see what he's doing offensively. Well, actually, he's only 4. Oh, that's 4th in the overall offense. Okay. 4th in the league in rushing offense, 138 yards and a 4.6 average. And the passer rating is 6th in the league. For the yards per game, 182 net. That's one of the lower totals in the league. The league is averaging 211. Minnesota's dead last at 137. I'm really wondering if I have their stats correctly. That doesn't seem like it's correct. 203 passing attempts? Let's take a look here. Yeah, it's correct. 203 passing attempts. I stand corrected there, Dale. But he's got a job. He's 7th in the league in rushing, 757 yards and a 5.1 average. Yeah, it's not a great card. So he's doing a real nice job coaching that team, as you'd expect. As you'd expect from Jay, of course. So kudos to him. And our next team up is Zeb Strong's Dallas Cowboys, 5-3. Another guy ready to tell Tom and Dennis to go take a jump in the lake. We predicted Jay 6-10, 7-9, and Zeb 6-10, 6-10, and they're both 5-3. I told you about Arizona, so the predicting is taking a big hit this year for Dennis and me. Maybe last year I think we had Dale 5-11, and he won the Super Bowl. So we either should spend more time on our predictions, or less time. Like why bother even trying? Just throw a dart, because we're way off on some of these teams. So Zeb 5-3. Let's see how he's gotten it done. Only +4 in the point differential. A lot of close games, I would assume. We lost one blowout. That'll do that at times. If you have a winning record, close point differential, you might have one blowout defeat sometimes. Started out 2-2. Victories over Cincinnati, who just said is 5-3, and the Chargers with Brady 21-16. Lost to the Rams 9-3, and lost handily to Green Bay 38-13. Then came back to win 3 out of 4 in the second block of games, with the offense coming alive, it looks like. 34-28 over Tony, 31-21 over Mick, 21-14 over Dale, and then lost a close one, 24-21 to Joe Golden. And this is like the type of schedule I'm talking about. I mean, the records, the teams he played, it's like they were all kind of decent teams, you know. No one's great, but there's hardly anyone doing great in the league. Playing a team, 5-3, 3-5, 4-4, 3-5, our 1-2-6 team, 3-5, 4-4, 4-4. But that's what's there. 17 teams in the league, or 3-5, 4-4, or 5-3. That's what you're going to get on your schedule most of the time. So, second half, you got to play Pittsburgh, Houston, Tampa Bay rebuilding, Indianapolis struggling with very good personnel. They play Seattle 6-2. Ooh, comes to the Meadowlands to play me. Play Chicago 2-6. Miami 3-5. So schedule is not too tough for this Dallas club, who I think has been using Josh McCown as the starting quarterback. Yes. They seem pretty close in the yardage from scrimmage. -5 in turnovers. That shows what a great coaching job looks like. And even the red zone, they're losing out. So I'm not sure where he's winning. Time of possession, he's winning by a little bit. First downs by a little bit. Maybe he's winning on special teams. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing leaps out here. Just doing a good job, I suppose. Team offense for Zeb. He's 20th in the league in yardage. 20th in the league in yardage. 19th in the league in turnover differential. 4th in the league in defense. Giving up only 4.2 yards per carry on the ground. He's got 10 sacks. And he's 17th in quarterback rating. But the yards per game are above average at 206. Giving up only 6.3 yards an attempt and 58% completed. So, a big surprise. Kind of a solid all-around approach by Zeb. And making some key calls in some key spots, I'm sure, in the fourth quarter to win some of these games. So 5-3. And even though we predicted these guys, Cincinnati and Dallas, not to make the playoffs, when these coaches are so good, they're former SOMIFA champions, and recently in the last 5 years, you got to say, I like their chances to make the playoffs, right? They're overachieved already. They're 5-3 each. The teams aren't awful. The J defense, oh boy, what a tremendous job. Jay's given up 143 points. Number 4 in the league, 143 points, with 3 linebackers who are 0 against the pass, 2 4s in the secondary, 2 4s on the defensive line. It's a 3-4 defensive line, and not much pass rush. Wizardry out there in Villingland. So let's move on to the. So it'll be interesting to see if Cincinnati and Dallas can keep it up. You feel like they will, because of the quality of the coaches, and they've already been doing it. See if Arizona can keep it up. So some surprise teams there. Now you get a couple teams that I wouldn't say are a surprise, right? I thought the Rams we had as a surprise, but we didn't. The Rams we had a 97-10-6, and San Fran we each had 11-5. And the Rams, coached by Wayne, number of former SOMIFA champion himself, way back when, in the early years, finally got himself a decent quarterback card with Carson Wentz. We talked about his trade of Jimmy Garoppolo in the season preview show and the draft recap show. Of course, Garoppolo goes out and gets injured for the year. Wasn't playing that great before that. And suddenly, Wayne's trade looks a lot better. Because none of us felt like it was a bad trade. We knew that Wayne had to, the smart move was to do something with one of his quarterbacks. I think we all just thought, including Wayne, that he could have got more that he was going to get more, but it just wasn't there to be had. So he made that deal. And now Garoppolo's hurt, which is a bad break for Tony, because the last thing I think he wants to do is look at Eli Manning again. Tried him out there for years. This franchise has not had success. Of course, he's the reigning SSFA champion. Makes it a little easier to deal with some adversity over here in SOMIFA when you just won the SSFA title. I'm sure Tony would like to get this SOMIFA team on track. So the Rams 5-3. The losses: 1 point to Ron Martin's Steelers, a field goal to Arizona 7-1, 39-17 to Miami. Big win for the Dolphins. I think Dan started off slow. 1-3, trying to get back in it now. Victory is 38-15 over the surprising Kansas City Chiefs. 4-4. Lawrence did a great job with that team. 9-3, crazy. 9-3 victory over Zeb in Modern League. 17-10 over Buffalo, rebuilding. 33-3 over the Jets. Oh, I got hammered that game. Jesus. And 18-16, a 2-point win over the Chargers. So interesting mix of games there for Wayne. And in the second half, his 5-3 club, they're going to play Denver 2-6, the Colts 3-5, but a good team. Detroit 4-4, I believe. Cincinnati 5-3, Oakland 7-1, San Fran 5-3, Tennessee 4-4, but good, and Seattle 6-2. Boy, Wayne's got a tough second half schedule. He's got to play Seattle and Oakland, 6-2, 7-1, real good teams. San Fran 5-3, excellent coach. Cincinnati overachieving but excellent coach. Indianapolis only 3-5, very good personnel. Tennessee 4-4. Dennis liked him at 12-4. Big Ben's club. And Detroit 4-4. And only Denver in there is a weaker team. So it'll be a tough second half for Wayne, but he's proven his coaching over the years when he's had some kind of personnel. So we'll see what he can do, and we'll see what his team is up to right now. Statistically, number 11 offense in yardage, number 2 defense in the league in yardage. That's what you like to see. And he's +7 in the plus-minus. That'll certainly help you. 294 yards a game allowed, giving up 4.5 yards a carry. 6th in the league in opponent rushing yards per game. Number 1 opponent passer rating in the league. 65.6. I believe he has corner sixes. And only allowing 188 net yards passing. He's giving up 5.1 average game and 53.4% completed. And that'll really force a lot of punts and help you win a lot of games. So the pass defense leading the way for the Rams. And he did a great job against me. I tried to go West Coast on him. He plays a 4-3. He's got a safety 6 and like corner 6s and maybe a strong safety 5. And you just bringing up that safety 6 and putting him in like looking and flooding it outside flat. And my pass, and I couldn't really West Coast him against that. And I don't have a quarterback who could throw at 3 levels. So he made short work of my team, 33-3. So yeah, so maybe defensive can lead the day here for Wayne as he gets into some of these second half matchups. He's got Carson Wentz, of course. The Leonard Fournette card's not really that bad. I played against it. And of course, Wayne's a good coach. So it's a tough schedule. So if he gets to 10-6, if he repeats at 5-3, I think he'd have to be happy because it's a tough schedule. Then the Niners 5-3, the perennial favorite, not favorites, but you know what I'm saying, one of the perennial contenders for the crown. Already has several in his belt. I don't think this is a great Niners team on paper because of the quarterback. I think Dennis and I liked the rest of the team, and of course the coach, because we predicted 11-5. 4-6-5 defensive line on 3-4, 4-0, 4-5-5-5-6. They play 3-4, and you play 3-4, but you have good defensive linemen against the run, and a good secondary. It's easier to get away with those really bad pass defense linebackers. But you need the good secondary, you need the good run defense to try and make it work. So you can try to cover for those guys without leaving yourself vulnerable down the field. That's where if you have a good second tight end and or a good receiving running back, you make it a little harder because at least it's to cover those guys on the outside. If he wants to double them and stuff like that, you can throw to other guys. So, and the victories for, we'll look at the losses first. Lost to Minnesota 2014, lost to Oakland, that's Jeff 2021. So started up only 2-2. I think he was 3-3 at one point, then won his last two. His third loss was to Ron Martin, 18-6. The victories have been over Green Bay, 27-10. The Chargers, 30-20. The Giants, 24-15. The Bucs, a close one, 22-17 against a rebuilding team. And the Falcons, 23-17. Second half, got Buffalo rebuilding, Arizona 7-1. The Jets, no offense. Tennessee 4-4. Detroit 4-4. The Rams 5-3. Miami 3-5. Denver 2-6. He does have two rebuilding teams on the schedule. Did not play Oakland and Seattle in the second half, or he played Oakland. So a favorable schedule for the commissioner. You like him to do well. We all know the track record. This team is 8th in the league with a plus 22 point differential. 12th in the league in scoring. It's a excellent defensive coach. Number 5 in the league in defense. Often likes to run the ball. He's number 2 in the league in rushing. 161 yards a game with a 5.1 average. And he has Carson Palmer efficiently, I guess, 10th in the league in the quarterback rating. 85.2 as a team, but only 159 net yards passing, which is not far from the gross because he's only been sacked 4 times as a team. So mostly running the ball, only 203 passing attempts. It's about 25 a game. 250 rushing attempts. And then defensively, number 6 in the league. He's allowing 4.8 yards a carry, but he's got a nose tackle 6. But allowing only 54.2% completed. And he is plus 3 in turnovers, despite Carson Palmer. Part of that is he's not throwing that much. 5-3 for the commish. So it's a very interesting top 7 here. You look at 7 teams above 500 in the league right now. And 3 of them, I would say 3 of them are kind of overachieving. Arizona, Cincinnati, and Dallas. So you want to see how those teams hold up in the second half. And the Rams are doing a fine job. He's got a tough schedule second half. Oakland and Seattle should be fine. And I think the commissioner will be fine. So see if any of these teams fall off into 8-8 land with like a 3-5 second half. I'm not predicting that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think maybe Wayne is the biggest candidate to finish like 9-7, maybe, because he has a tough schedule. But probably all these teams get to 10-6 or better. Maybe Wayne falls off to 9-7. So we'll see. Then you have this big group of 4-4 teams, which is how many? 9 teams. 9 out of 24 teams are at 500 right now. So everyone's still in it. Your fans are still buying tickets for the game. You're in good shape. Atlanta, Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, Kansas City, Minnesota, the Jets, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. And behind them, you have 4, 3, and 5 teams. So you have 4 teams 5-3 and 4 teams 3-5. And 9 teams. Whatever, my math is probably wrong there, but 9 teams 3-5. So Atlanta's first year looks like we thought they would do better. He's only 4-4. The turnovers have been the problem, as I looked at. If you look at our predictions, I have Nathan 11-5. Dennis has been 12-4. I told you that he's up there in offense and defense. And, not just up there. Number 2 offense in yardage. Number one defense in yardage. Number one defense in yardage. But he's 21st in turnover differential. -6. We all know the importance of turnovers. I mean, Zeb is the only team more than -2 in turnovers that has a winning record. There's some 500 teams in there, but there's been 11 giveaways for Atlanta, only 5 takeaways. I know Nathan likes to throw the ball down the field. Has it been the interception? So I know he likes to throw flat with Cousins. He does both. I mean, he's completing 66.8 with the 6.6 average gain. He has thrown 7 picks. So you would think that would come down, right? I mean, if it's 8 2/3 turnovers per average, he's got 4 fumbles, 2 from Cousins. I don't think his number is that high. The turnover should balance off a little bit. I mean, as you'd expect by someone so high in yardage from scrimmage, offense, and defense, he's over 600 yards better than the opponent from the scrimmage. But the turnovers have killed him. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. He was 4-0. Nathan was 4-0 and then went 0-4 in the second quarter of the season. So the wins, I guess, because they were in the first quarter, beat Miami by 1, beat Kansas City by 9, beat Detroit 34-24 by 10, beat Green Bay 41-24. There was no indication that this team was about to lose a bunch of games, but that happened. He had a terrible luck game against me. Otherwise, he probably would have won. Lost 22-16 to me. Lost 33-11 to Brad Lane. Lost 27-23 to Arizona Bob. And then 23-17 to the commish. Nathan cannot be happy with that second quarter performance for his club. Let's see what's on tap the rest of the way. Play Seattle this block, 6-2, and of course it's Dennis. And then you get Minnesota 4-4, Buffalo 2-6, and Denver 2-6. And Minnesota is not that great on paper. So a chance for Nathan to right the ship and win 3 out of 4. If he beats Dennis, he could sweep. The team and the coach are certainly good enough. So a good chance to get to 7-5, but I'm sure Nathan is not feeling very confident right now. He's probably also feeling very irritated or annoyed with his club. Then he ends up with Cincinnati 5-3, Tampa Bay rebuilding 2-6, the Chargers kind of struggling 3-5, a little one-dimensional on offense, and Houston 4-4. So the schedule looks favorable. You know, I could see Nathan. I could easily see Nathan going 6-2 or better, maybe even 7-1. This team's going to win 10 or 11 games. I think he'll right the ship. Turnovers, I think, have been a little more fluky than anything. The schedule is favorable. He's got a good team. I played against them. Defensively, you know, I don't know at times, but he'll be fine. And I think he'll right the ship, and he'll do it in a hurry. So I like that team to get up beyond the mini playoffs into the regular playoffs. That'll be the question for these 4-4 teams. Can any of them get to the real playoffs? How many of them are going to get stuck in the mini playoffs? How many of them are going to miss it altogether? You got to go 5-3. So another 4-4 is not going to cut it. Detroit, that's Bradley Miller as Lions. This is the Matthew Stafford club, I believe. Matthew Stafford and Kareem Hunt. Hunt was a high draft pick for Bradley. And this team is actually doing better defensively than offensively, it looks like. Well, they're number 9 in the league in points scored, so maybe I should take that back. And they're number 10 in the league in points allowed. Have turnovers been a problem? No, +2 point differential in turnovers. So you figure a team like that should have a winning record. But they're 4-4. Take a look inside the offense, defense. Detroit number 8 in offense from scrimmage, 349. And number 10 defensively, 316. So he's sort of a little above average in everything. He went 2-2 each block. Beat Buffalo, who's rebuilding, 21-11. Beat Tampa Bay, who's rebuilding, 27-14. Beat Miami, who's under 500, 37-21. And then had a nice victory over Jay's Bengals, 20-7. That's the best win on the resume in the first half of the season for the Lions. Let's look at the losses. A 1-point loss to Ron Martin, 23-22. Lost by 10 to Nathan, 34-24. Lost by 10 to Dennis, 31-21. And lost 16-7 to Joe Golden's Giants. So it seems a bit outgunned against some of the better teams. And he's got to go at least 5-3. Let's see what he's got left. Indianapolis is pretty tough despite the 3-5 record. Lawrence overachieving at 4-4. The Rams playing good football at 5-3. Chargers kind of one-dimensional, 3-5. The Niners with Ed, Houston with Paul, Minnesota with Dale, and the Knicks Titans. So too many good teams left in the schedule, I think. You got Niners, you got Paul, you got the Titans, you got Wayne's Club, you got Jeff Wendland's talent, you got Lawrence overachieving. I don't think you can go 6-2 with this team against that. I think we liked Detroit a little bit, at least coming in, didn't we, Dennis? I asked to the fictional Dennis, who's not here. Yeah, I had them 10-6. Dennis had them 11-5, but at this point, 8-8 looks like it might be what's in order for him with this remaining schedule. I think he'd probably take 9-7. Look, I'm 4-4. I got some tough teams out there. Get me 9-7. Get me the mini playoffs. Let me win a game, and then see what happens, because he's got a pretty decent club. There's not a lot of teams that Dennis and I predicted for double-digit victories. So let's see what Brett Lane can do there. Dave Scott did a nice job bouncing back from a rough first quarter of the game, first quarter of the season. I don't think it's been with the defense, because he's given up 207 points, which is 22nd in the league, and the teams behind him are rebuilding. So 25.9 points allowed. Ouch. And he has scored 20.3. So he's middle of the pack in offense, near the back of the pack in defense. And then from scrimmage, 18th in yardage. Oh, dead last in yards allowed. He's giving up 5.3 yards a carry. He's 23rd in the league in rushing yards allowed, with the second worst rushing average, 5.3. And then he's 19th in opponent passer rating and allowing 233 yards net through the air, which is one of the marks near the bottom of the league. Giving up 16 touchdown passes, tied for the most in the league. Giving up 62% completed, 6.9 average gain, 6 sacks. These are bad numbers across the board, which explains why you're struggling, but he's only 4-4. He lost 2 games badly in the first block. I got him 44-17. Nathan got him 41-24. But then he offset that with a 38-13 victory over Zeb. And he lost 27-10 to Ed. He came back in the second block, much improved performance to go 3-1, as he gave up 10, 17, and 24 points to Lawrence, Tony, and Dennis. And he beat Dennis 27-24 in what he's hoping will be a springboard game for the second half. He did lose to Jeff 31-3. Jeff's got a real good team, and he can't win them all. So what to make out of this 4-4 club here? It has, I believe, Ryan Tannehill. No, he's got Case Keenum. That's right. Drafted Case Keenum late in the first round to help him for the year, and hopefully for the future, but Case is floundering out in Denver. So Dave Scott's going to need Ryan Tannehill to play some decent football for the Dolphins, they get over 100 attempts. So he has a quarterback for next season. Second half for Green Bay plays Miami 3-5, Cincinnati 5-3, the Giants 3-5, Minnesota 4-4, Chicago a disappointing 2-6, Arizona 7-1, Tampa Bay 2-6, and the Chargers 3-5. So really not a very tough schedule here. Really not. Arizona is 7-1, and forgive me, Bob, but I still don't see them as, I'd say, an elite club right now. Despite that, Cincinnati's 5-3, but overachieving. And the rest, and he's got some teams below 500 in there. So Dave's got a chance to get to 9-7 and better. Let's see if he can do it. I have a feeling he might end up 8-8 though, because these teams like Miami, Minnesota, they can certainly bite you. The Chargers, again, we're talking about parity. 3-5 to 4-4 is only one game, but the talent level there is not that far behind this year. Looking at these rosters. And I think before the season, we had Dave under 500. I had him 8-8. Dennis had him 5-11. The Houston Texans, half man, half Mankiewicz. He's putting up the points. Only 4-4 again. 205 points is third best in the league. And if Paul's doing something like that, you expect a good record. But the defense is 16th in the league. 22.5 points allowed. And the turnovers are +2, which is nice. Better than being -2, or at least it's not hurting you. 4-4 though, with Breeze and Le'Veon Bell. I think the defense is shaky on paper for the Texans this year. Plays a 4.3 average. 0.665. He's the monster defensive tackle sixes. 4.44 linebacker. 4.455 in the secondary. I think Dennis and I would think Paul will get more out of that defense than he has. Oh, I play him this quarter. I better pump him up, give him a false sense of security. 4-4. The victories beat Denver 33-10. That's Tony's struggling club. Beat Minnesota 27-10. Beat Arizona by a point. Their only loss of the season. As Paul started 3-1. His other victories over the Giants 44-17. But the losses. He did not start 3-1. Started 2-2. The losses to Mixed Titans, 34-28. That's a good team. Tough loss to Buffalo is scrappy. 2-6. I think he's might have started 2-1 though. And it's a rebuilding team. Watson's not bad, but the picks, it's not really ready for prime time card, and the team's not really built for now. Lost 31-14 to the Chargers. That's a tough one, or a bad one, I should say. And lost 20-15 a close game to Jay, which is why one of those teams is 4-4, one's 5-3. So a bit of a mixed bag, which is what you expect for some of these 4-4 teams. Rest of the way plays the Jets 4-4. That should be a good game. Plays Dallas 5-3. The Colts 3-5, a good talent. Tampa Bay 2-6, rebuilding. Pittsburgh 4-4. Detroit 4-4. Seattle 6-2. Atlanta 4-4. Paul, of course, one of the best coaches around. We all know that. Made the playoffs 1-2. Made the playoffs, I don't know, every single year, except for 2014. No, it did not make it the first 2 years. 8-8 both years. So from 2014 to the present, he's missed the playoffs once. So you probably put your money on that 4-4 team to get into the playoffs. But we'll see. It's a different league. It's more competitive. It's a tough schedule. His defense isn't great. Let's see if he can do it. Kansas City Chiefs, this team is overachieving. Tremendous job by Lawrence. He was only 4-4, but Dennis and I each predicted him to go 3-13. 3 wins and 13 losses. Lawrence says, I hate you guys. And after 1-3 start to the season, goes 3-1 the second half, playing way better defense from first block to the second. Look at this. First block, he loses 38-15, 23-14, 30-16 as a 41-10 victory. Second block loses 20-10, then 23-6, 17-14, 20-17. So in the second block, he never gave up more than 20 points. In the first block, he gave up 23, 30, and 38 in 3 games. Will the real Chiefs please stand up? I'd like to see what his stats look like. I think this is a Jared Goff team. Jared Goff, who I said would be a failure, based upon both ESPN Total QBR and my naked eye evaluation. Obviously, I was completely wrong. And let's see what Lawrence is doing. He's getting outgained by a couple of 100 yards. I'm wondering how this team is hanging in there. Getting outgained by a couple 100 yards, only +1 in turnovers. Not doing quite as well in the red zone. Do we have special teams? His kick return average looks considerably better than his opponent's. Punt return average is better. Opponent punting is worse. He's been sacked more. Goff is playing good football. 89.7 quarterback rating, which puts Goff number 8 in the league. 62.6 completed, 12 TDs, 4 interceptions, 6.6 average gain. It's a respectable season. So where is he in offense and defense scoring and yardage? So he's 19th in the league in offense, and Lawrence is more of an offensive guy. He likes the offensive personnel in the draft and in trade, but in the draft especially. Number 11 in defense. And I think he has terrible defensive personnel or offensive line or something like that. He's running back. He doesn't have any good running back cards, really. Joe Mixon, Devonta Booker, Amir Abdullah. Yeah, Mixon's good for the future, but just not for this year. 3-4 goes 6-4-4-0-5-0-0. That's the 4-5-5-5 in the secondary. This is the second team. The second 3-4 team with multiple 0 defenders at linebacker who's doing a good job defensively. Jay with Cincinnati is giving him 143. Lawrence giving him 158. So that's the key to success. You need to play a 3-4 with a nose tackle 4 and triple linebacker zeros. The other guy's not even a 6, so he's a 5. Hats off to Lawrence. I don't care who he played. That is a hell of a job defensively. But let's see who he played after just saying I don't care who he played. He defeated Denver 41-10, and in the second block, the 3 wins to get the team back on track against Mick 23-6. That's an upset. Beat the Colts, a close one, 17-14, and held off against Buffalo 2017. The losses were against the Rams, the Falcons, and the Seahawks, all fairly convincingly, in 2010 to Green Bay. So 4-4, tough to ask this team to get in the playoffs with the lack of a running game and the way the defense looks on paper. But let's see what they got. Lawrence's coaching has really improved dramatically from about 6 or 7 years ago. He's a good coach now. So you got, he plays Arizona 7-1, Detroit 4-4, Oakland 7-1, Chicago 2-6, and plays the Chargers, Miami, the Jets, and Tampa Bay. So that it's like a team like this, Oakland and Arizona, if Arizona's for real, tough to predict a win in one of those 2 games. That would put them at 4-6. The last block isn't too tough. Tampa Bay, Miami, the Jets, and the Chargers. Lawrence got a chance to get to 9-7. I'll be another interesting team to watch, these Chiefs, and see if you can have some kind of crazy appearance in at least the mini playoffs. Then we come to the defending champion Vikings, a team that was overlooked last year, underrated, and we did it again. Not as bad, but so far we've done it again. I predicted 6-10. Dennis predicted 5-11. And what we have is a 4-4 Vikings team. That is this right? It's 21st in the league in offense. Only 138 points scored. It sounds very low. 138 points scored halfway through the season. 21st in the league in offense. Ahead of only Buffalo, Chicago, and Indianapolis. But defensively, Minnesota is second in the league in scoring, allowing 16.4 points a game. You got to look and see what these stats look like. You know, he was West Coasting a lot last year. I think Jordan Howard is having a surprisingly good season for him. As a matter of fact, Howard is leading the league in rushing with not a great card. I guess people are focusing on Brian Hoyer. Maybe not. 955 and a 5.2. Hoyer's card is not good this year. Last year, you knew he had the flat pass going. This year, he really doesn't have any of it going. And at 9, is it leading in rushing touchdowns too? Tied for the lead with Le'Veon Bell. 9 rushing touchdowns for Mr. Howard. So this team's being outgained by a couple hundred yards. -1 in turnovers, losing the time of possession. Doing better than the opponent on the kick returns. Not on the punt returns at all. He does have 16 sacks. It's just it's a weird situation. Here you go. Red zone efficiency, 76% for him, 62% for the opposition. He's also 60% on 4th downs, where the opponent is 4 for 12. Even Matt Cassell saw action. Probably an injury to Hoyer. He's running at 223 times, passing at 203. Melvin Gordon running a little bit, mostly short yardage, it looks like. Otherwise, Jordan Howard, Melvin Gordon having a good year next year. But Dale will probably need another stopgap quarterback. Only completing 54.7. So it looks like Jordan Howard is outperforming the card. Looks like a bit of a mirage. And, of course, some very good coaching from Dale, who proved it last year when he took that 10-6 Brian Hoyer team to the championship. You know I'm going to sell him short again. I'm sorry, Dale. Brian Hoyer's card is not good this year. Last year, we knew he had the good flat pass. And even Jordan Howard's card is okay this year, but not like last year. But he's doing work. Now, let's see what he's played so far. The 4 losses. Lost to Tony. It was 2-6. 22-16. Lost to Paul, 27-10. Lost to Mick, 31-13. And lost to Zeb, 21-14. So some of the good teams there were beating well, but on the other side of the ledger, look at the victories. He beat Ed 20-14. Beat Dan Moore 24-3. Played a rebuilding Buffalo team, beat them 24-10, and beat Pittsburgh was Aaron Rodgers 17-3. So some pretty decent wins on the ledger also for Dale. Says don't count me out yet, Tom. Let's see what we have here for the remaining schedule. Plays Nathan 4-4, Oakland 7-1, Cincy 5-3, Green Bay 4-4, Tampa Bay rebuilding, Colts a good 3-5 team, if that's possible to say. Detroit 4-4, Arizona 7-1. Bit of a tough schedule. I mean, to be honest, if we went 4-4 again, that would be a good job. If he makes it to the mini playoffs, and if he gets into the regular playoffs, I would really tip my hat to him. That would really be something with this club. So we'll see what Dale. A lot of interesting teams to watch here. You know what are Minnesota, Kansas City, and Detroit going to do? Green Bay. This 4-4 group is interesting, and then even the teams above them: Cincinnati, Dallas. A lot of stuff to watch here in the second half of the SOMIFA season. From what we're seeing here in this midseason show, maybe I'll try to get a couple of showcase games, at least one. Maybe something involving one of these 4-4 teams. Detroit or the Rams. Rams are 5-3. You know, get something with some playoff ramifications in there. See what happens. Maybe watch Dale in action, the defending champion, against the Bengals, 5-3. Against Green Bay, 4-4, NFC North game. So very interesting to see. And I had Dale. We said that he was number 2 in points allowed. In yardage, he's dead last in the league. 266 yards from scrimmage. With the number 7 rushing attack, the 20th passing attack by rating, and by far dead last. He's averaging 137 yards passing per game. Maybe if you're playing Dale, you might want to mix in a few run calls if you're having a hard time. Defensively, however, he's number 3 in the league. And I don't think this is great personnel. He's playing that 4-3. Dan Morin always likes to see and point out when some of these 4-3 teams are doing well. Better than some might expect. Especially with Dennis and I preferring the 3-4, especially me. Pass rush helping. 5-5-5-5. 4-5-4 the linebackers. So he's got the sacks. Pass rush is helping. He's winning with defense. He has 16 sacks, tied for 2nd in the league, 3rd in opponent passer rating. No, 3rd in yardage from scrimmage. I'm sorry. Number 11 in run defense. All this will the average. There's only 110 yards a game, and 4.3 average is better than league average, and pretty respectable for this Strat league. And then he's 9th in rating, but 186 yards a game. Net is one of the better numbers. 1, 2, and that's the 3rd best one. Behind Atlanta, Oakland, and then the Vikings. If you can play good pass defense, you're going to play good defense usually, especially in the modern game. So interesting performance by Dale. Real good job just to be at 4-4. Let's see if he can double it up. And it comes to my Jets. Well, try not to spend a disproportionate amount of time on. As we're getting near the end of the 4-4 teams, the teams under 500 will not receive as much time as I have spent on the others, understandably. And my Jet team has been an up and down season, which is what I kind of expected. They're an up and down team. They're pretty decent all around, but I'm stuck with Matt Moore and Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. Neither of them is particularly good. And the running game is okay on paper. Not great. I'm +5 in point difference. I've had a lot of games decided by luck, kind of for and against me, which happened a year or two ago in one of these leagues as well. SOMIFA, I think. I had a pretty good record, and there was a lot of games decided by luck in my favor, and those are some of the ones I lost against me. Like more lucky games than you expected in either direction. But I'm +5 in point differential. I feel like I've been playing more of a defensive style. I'm 18th in the league in scoring at 20 points a game. But I'm only 8th. I'm 8th in the league in points allowed. 19.4. I'd hope that number would be better. In overall offense, what do we got here for my team? I'm number 13, so kind of middle of the pack. And in defensive yardage, number 8. And in turnovers, -2. Playing good pass defense, 2nd in the league in the passer rating, 67.7, trailing only Wayne, and allowing only 52% completed. Aaron Jones 6 seems to have a lot to do with that. I've been double teaming more than I did the last year or two. I was getting away from that, and I have no idea why. It wasn't very smart. And I'm 15th in the league in run defense. Let's see the losses. Lost by 2 to Bob. Started out 1-3. Lost by 2 to Bob. Lost 22-17 to Jay. 24-17 to Mick. So there's a lot of close games in there, win or lose, really. The one win was a big victory, 44-17 of Green Bay. Had a lot of breaks in that one. I mean, the second block of games, I did go 3-1. I lost to Wayne, 33-3. A lot of breaks against me, but he also coached really good. I beat Nathan. I got a lot of breaks in that game, 22-16. Indianapolis, I beat 17-14. I had good breaks in that game. That was the one to get me back up to 500 after falling to 3-4. And Buffalo's rebuilding, and I was able to win that one, 26-13. I think I had some good breaks in that game early as well. Second half of the season for this team, which is kind of a middle-of-the-road team. But the Texans 4-4, Denver 2-6, Ed 5-3, the Giants 3-5, but a group that can really step up and get back in the playoff hunt, I think. And I finish up with Miami 3-5, Dallas 5-3, Kansas City 4-4, Chicago 2-6. So there's a road there. That fourth quarter, a couple teams struggling, and Lawrence overachieving. There's a road there to at least get to 500, right? But it's hard when you don't have that good a team and your margin of error is slim. I mean, if I could ever find a way to beat Ed in this game somehow, if I could split with Ed and Paul, they don't. Maybe I'll take my chances the rest of the way. So I got a chance to get to 9-7 mini playoffs. I would like to make the regular playoffs. If I make the mini playoffs and lose, I'd still be okay with it because this team is not that great. But they're much better than going 4-12 and not trying. So we'll see if they make it into the mini playoffs. I would say not trying. What I mean is like not making moves for the year. Everyone who has ever played me with a bad team, when I have a bad team, know that I always play my ass off to win. Even my 0-16 team, I'm double teaming and keying and trying all kinds of crazy stuff to try to be competitive. The team, but sometimes I make the team so bad for the year because I don't care for that year because I'm not trying to make the playoffs, so to speak. But I do try in each individual game. Anyway, just saying that because I said not trying or whatever. Anyway, so see what happens with that team. They're interesting. They're very challenging. I like the defense a lot. Offense is shaky. I need the right matchup to try to do something. So we'll see if they can get going. But who knows? All right, Pittsburgh Steelers, Ron Martin, former dynasty. Like a 3-time SOMIFA Bowl champion. Started out 3-1, but then dropped 3 of 4 in the second quarter, scoring 161, allowing 186. He's got Aaron Rodgers and Elliott, but this is not the vintage Aaron Rodgers, but still. I think he could do a little better offensively, and Elliott's not that great this year either. Rodgers completing under 62% in the NFL next year. So his card, particularly on the flats, might not be what you are used to yet again from Mr. Rodgers and his neighborhood. Pittsburgh is 16th in scoring and 17th in points allowed. That's not the profile of a team that you want to predict for the postseason at 4-4. -3 in turnovers. Number 10 in yardage from scrimmage. Number 13th in defensive yardage allowed per game from scrimmage. And let's look at the wins and losses. This team lost to the Chargers 35-14, to Miami 27-20, to Minnesota 17-3, and to Arizona 29-23. It does not bode well for this team making it into the playoffs. It beat Detroit by 1, 23-22, beat the Rams by 1, 28-27, beat Buffalo 32-23, and then beat Ed 18-6. So again, like you'd expect from a 4-4 team, a bit of a mixed bag. You got a victory over Ed in there. You got a couple of 1-point wins. I don't know. They played Dallas 5-3, Chicago 2-6, Denver 2-6, Seattle 6-2. So you might be looking at another 2-2 block there. Finishes up with Houston 4-4, the Giants 3-5 but tough, Colts 3-5 but tough, Cincinnati 3-5. So there's a path for Ron too to get to 9-7. We might have a wicked mini playoff, so you might have 15 teams in there. You might have a substantial. That's probably mathematically impossible, but you might have a substantial mini playoffs this year. You can see a whole bunch of teams at 9-7, maybe 6 of them. We'll see what happens. There was a year like that early on in SSFA, I think, because that was it. There was 3 rounds of mini playoffs. So it was pretty cool for 1 spot or something crazy like that. I forget. But anyway, I think Ron's got a good chance. I think Ron can get into the mini playoffs at 9-7. Last of the 4-4 teams, Tennessee Titans, also kind of disappointing. Ron, I predicted 6-10. As we both predicted 6-10. So he's actually outdoing our projections, just like half the league. And Mick is going the other way. We predicted him 10-6. I did in 12-4. But Dennis said, but Mick's only 4-4. I have to run the table to get to that. 12-4. Now Mick is doing well offensively with 5th in the league in points scored, 18th in points allowed, -3 in turnovers. Does have Big Ben. Throws a little more picks than most good quarterbacks. Tennessee 5th in yardage from scrimmage, 353 per game, a very healthy total. A lot of passing yards in there. And defensively, 5th in defense. So you look at a team that's top 5. Top 5 in yardage, offense and defense, and 4-4. So that tells me, even though he's -3 in turnovers, that tells me, here's a candidate to do better in the second half, especially when you factor in that we both liked this team before the season started. So the loss is lost by a field goal to Jeff Wendlandt, 27-24. Some high-scoring games here, especially in the first block. Lost 34-28 to Tony. That hurts. Because Tony's 2-6. But Tony, the team's not terrible. Even like the bad teams, the rebuilding teams aren't terrible. Tampa Bay is the one probably with that defense that's kind of easy to feel like you could do well against. But, you know, can't say that for too long with Patrick Mahomes stepping onto the field next year for Tim Bollier down in Tampa. That'll be fun for Tim. Let's see, Tennessee. Starting again, the loss is 27-24 to Jeff Wendlandt's Colts, 34-28 to Tony, 23-6 to Lawrence. That's another one. I maybe got some bad dice in some of these games. Now, Lawrence is 4-4, doing a great job, 22-6. It's a real good team. You know, to lose 2 games like that in the first half and you're 4-4, that really hurts as Dennis gets ready for an S28 game, which is good because I'm almost done with the show, kind of. And he's asking me questions. Hold on for one moment, gentlemen. I watched some of these Strat-O-Matic games that he plays. That's a league where I'm the GM and he's a head coach, and we got a real good team over there, so that's fun. Especially when my fall teams have got the injured Andrew Luck, who's coming back next year. Yay! I can do better. So Tennessee. I mentioned the losses to Kansas City and Denver. The victories defeated Paul, 34-28. Defeated my Jets. I forgot we even played. 24. Good win, Mick. I forgot we even played. 24-17. I think that was a pretty convincing win for him. I don't think it was that close for 24-17. I don't remember playing him a close game. I'm really curious. I hope I undid the muting. Yeah, I undid it. I kicked the field goal. 22 seconds left to make it 24-17. All right, so I had a lead mid-third quarter. Then he took over. But he probably outgained me handsomely. I outgained him. He's got a better team than I do. I don't remember feeling like that was a game I should have won or anything like that. So I think he, put put his foot on the gas when he needed to. Anyway, so yeah, defeated Paul 4-4, defeated me 24-17, 4-4. Defeated Minnesota 31-13. Defeated Miami 28-16. So you can see the way this team is capable of playing. Maybe some bad luck in some of those losses, particularly to the bad teams. It's funny. Like if you have a good team, we all know we're going to have those bad luck games where we have like no chance of winning. If you have a good team, if it's the regular season, I kind of won it against another good team because I'm going to beat that bad team, right? If I got like a 12-4 club and you got a 4-12 club, I should beat you, right? If I had my bad luck game against you, it's like that's a game that I would have probably won. If I'm playing another good team, I might lose the game anyway. So if I have my bad luck game there, it's like, okay, well, I might have lost anyway, but at least I'm not like costing myself what would be almost a short victory with like ordinary luck. So unless you're talking about seeding or whatever, that's kind of the way I look at it. But, maybe that's crazy. Who knows? Then let's see, Tennessee second half schedule. Plays the Giants 3-5, plays the Chargers 3-5, plays Chicago 2-6, plays San Fran 3-5. So there's a chance there to get healthy. He's got to take care of business against the Chargers and the Bears. Be 6-4. And against the Giants, who are tough, in San Fran, at least split those games. So you can beat all the teams under 500. Now, this team is good enough that they could possibly, have a 4-0 block. It wouldn't be a shock. Then he plays Buffalo in the fourth quarter. They're rebuilding. Oakland, one of the best teams in the league. One of the best personnel teams in the league this year. The Rams are playing well. Detroit 4-4. So it's again, Mick's got a pretty good path. Ron's got a path. Mick's got a path. 5-3 or even 6-2. I think Mick's got a better chance, partly because of how good his team is, to have a 6-2 block than most of the teams here. I guess Tennessee and Atlanta would be the two teams of this 4-4 group that I think have the best chance to get to 10 wins. Mick will get to at least 9-7, I think, with this club. Maybe due for some good luck. Maybe he gets to 10-6. Maybe he has it luck against Ed or something. That's a good game. San Fran, Tennessee. Maybe I'll broadcast that one if I get around to it. Then we get down to the 3 and 5 teams. There's 4 of them. And we're getting ready to wrap up here. We won't spend as much time with them. Indianapolis, the Chargers, Miami, the Giants. Well, there's some good coaches in here. There's some good teams in here. So I won't rush too much. Save that for the bottom 2 and 6 teams. The Colts with Jeff Wendler. This team has been a major disappointment. 3 and 5. Okay. Jeff and I, Dennis and I, each like them for 10 and 6. And not just 10 and 6, but it's a good team. You got Phillip Rivers. You got Phillip Rivers and Dion Lewis. And then defensively, he goes 4-6-6-6 on the defensive line, 0-6-5 at linebacker, 6-4-5-5 in the secondary with a 4 free safety. And you've got a slot corner 5 as a backup. So, I feel like the team should be doing well. Don't take this the wrong way, Jeff. But they aren't. And offensively, this is unbelievable to me. This team is last in the league in scoring. Not one of the rebuilding clubs, not a team with, a bad quarterback or no running game. But Phillip Rivers, Dion Lewis had a decent offensive line, last in the league in scoring 16.3 points a game. And he has scored 6 points, 13 points, 9 points. Now he's the last in the league. He's getting worse. Now he's the last in the league in scoring. And I say this all, just factually observant. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. But Jeff said he's pretty laid back, so. Now he's last in the league in scoring, but it seems like it's getting worse because in the second half, wow, he was 3-1. I remember that. Right? He was 3-1. I was like, it's a good team. He's 3-1. He's going to make it happen. He went 0-4 in the second block. And he did not score more than 14 points in any one game. What's going on out there? As Vince Lombardi would say, 50 points. 50 points in the second quarter of the season for the Colts in 4 games. 12.5 a game, never more than 14. His season high, he's only scored more than 20 points once this year. That is amazing to me. When you got Phillip Rivers and Dion Lewis. Now, we could use the second back because Dion Lewis, it does get about 20 unfatigued. But, but he's not a 30 carry guy, but still. And you look for the culprit, and I guess there's multiple culprits to be found here. I mean, you got, first of all, you've been sacked 25 times. Oh, wow. How did that happen? 25 times. In 8 games in the minor league, that has to be last in the league. Unless one of the rebuilding teams is really taking it on the chin. Passing sacked. Oh, by far. He's been sacked 25 times, and Denver's been sacked 18 times. He's been sacked 3. He's basically getting sacked once a game more than the second worst guy. The league is averaging 10 sacks allowed. Maybe time to throw a few more flat passes. I don't know. The line was got a center 7, but then the rest of it's all 5s and left guard 4, but still. But maybe he is throwing flat passes because, well, Phillip's not great at it. I know it's 7 incomplete, but he's shooting for those sexy short pass, long pass numbers. But you got to change it up if you're getting pummeled to the turf like that. And Rivers is not having a good year. 54.9 completed. 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a 5.9 average gain. When your average gain is 5.9, you're probably not throwing too many bombs, I guess. Now, if it's starting five, I played this team recently. They all have double-digit averages except for Dion Lewis and Jermaine Gresham. They're running back at the second tight end. But maybe you got to mix in some more flat passes. And you certainly got to run the ball more. You got a team that's 306 passing attempts, 141 rushes. You run the ball 141 times in 8 games. I think some of these games are close. Now I really sound like I'm criticizing. I'm trying to get away from being such a jackass. It's very hard for me. I'm trying to get away from being such a jackass. So far I'm failing. I do pretty good with the SOMIFA SSFA guys, but there's other situations in which I don't do as well. So he's not last in the league in rushing attempts, but he's near the bottom. And it's not like there's a bunch of blowout games here. But Dion Lewis, he's got 120. He's at 123 carries in 8 games. He's got to run a little more. Throw more flats. Run a little more with Dion Lewis. You got to do that. A second and short, bring in Jonathan Stewart. His card is not that great, but if you need to save a carry here or there, bring him in on second and short, not third and short. And let's see if the defense is doing anything at all. They've got some talent over there. I mean, what a shame. The club is 6th in the league in defense. 18.4. 23rd from scrimmage in offense. Oddly, 16th from scrimmage in defense. You got to get that offense going. You have to get offense going. I mean, let me see who he lost to here. Maybe he's had a really tough schedule. Lost to Tampa Bay, rebuilding, 23-20. Lost to Oakland by 10, 23-13. Lost to Jay Villing, 24-9. Lost to Lawrence, 17-14. Lost to me, 17-14. So running for some pretty good coaches there. Although Oakland's, I think, the only real top team in there. Cincinnati's having a good year. Victories over Dennis, 14-6. Over Mick, 27-24. And over the Bears, 19-13. I don't know what to make of this Indianapolis team this year. The rest of the way, they're playing Detroit 4-4, playing the Rams 5-3, playing the Texans 4-4, Dallas 5-3, Denver 2-6, Minnie's 4-4, Pittsburgh 4-4, and the Giants 3-5. The third block of games is tough. Tough, for a team that's struggling. I mean, in the vacuum, it's not that tough, but 5-3 Dallas with Zeb as a gamer, 5-3 Wayne. The Rams are pretty good. Detroit 4-4 with Matthew Stafford, Houston 4-4, and it's Paul. And you gotta kind of go 3-1 there to get to 6-6, and say I'm gonna have another 3-1 quarter in the fourth quarter. I mean, there's potential to win 4 games in the fourth quarter, and the personnel is way better than what they have in Minnesota and Denver. But I mean, then you got Ron Martin and Joe Golden. They're not gonna roll over for you. They got some pretty good teams, and they're gonna be in the playoff hunt probably as well. So I don't think the Colts can right the ship well enough. Don't see them in the playoffs, which would be a major disappointment. I mean, he could have a pretty good second half, and still end up 8-8, or maybe he might only go 7-9, but we'll see. He would certainly take 9-7. 3-5, he'll take 9-7. He's gonna go 6-2. So the Chargers, one of the more enigmatic teams in league history in recent years, certainly. As TJ has, I would say, stubbornly held on to his good veteran players because he could not get the right price for them. People like Donald Penn and Jordy Nelson and Earl Thomas, and now, of course, their value is greatly diminished. And the team is under 500. And, it didn't, not much happened when he kept them anyway. So, rough go of it. Three playoffs in 5 years. 15-1, 15-1, 12-4, but was unfortunately unable to win a playoff game either in any of those seasons. 2 6-10 teams in between. So it's been a bit of a good year, bad year for TJ. This is the bad year. I don't know what the roster looks like, but Brady's card next to him might not be quite as good. And a lot of other guys can have great cards, so you're not having that great advantage with Brady that you're having right now. Now, this is an interesting team because they're 3-4. Dennis and I did not have high expectations for them. We each predicted 6-10, and they're 3-4. But they're positive in points, plus 34 in points, which is unusual. Maybe they had a couple of blowout victories and a couple of close losses, but they're fourth in the league in scoring, 25.5. And they're 15th at 21.3, but that's about league average. The offense has been very, well, I thought it had been very one-dimensional, I believe. Fourth in the league in yardage from scrimmage. They are -5 in turnovers. And I think he's been passing often. Last, you got Brady and not much in the way of a running game. So when that happens, you're looking at a team that's last in the league in rushing yards, only 62.5 yards a game, barely on pace for 1,000 yards as a team, and only a 4.3 average when like every single run call is guessed wrong. So that's just the personnel that he has. And then the passing attack is 11th in rating, but is by far number one in yardage, 291 yards per game. You know, he's only been sacked 7 times. He's got a lot of 7 to the offensive line. Brady on pace for like 4,700 yards. But the team is 3-5. Defensively, wow, how the mighty have fallen. The team is 23rd in the league in yardage from scrimmage allowed. This is one of the greatest defensive teams in league history, personnel-wise, just a couple of years ago. And they had a good run of 5 or 6 years of great defenses. Unfortunately, some of those were before Brady came on. So TJ could not take advantage. The run defense is 21st, giving up 133 yards and a 5.1. And the pass defense is more middle of the road, 13th in rating, 9 touchdowns, like 4 interceptions is part of the problem. TJ doesn't like to double team. When you don't double team, you're not going to usually get as many picks. 227 yards from scrimmage, net yards, passing rather, per game allowed, which looks like it's one of the lower marks in the league. 211 is the league average. Like 60% completed, 6.3 average gain. So opposing offenses have multiple ways to attack, running the ball well, and the passing game is reasonable. The team started 1-3 and then split their second block of the season. So let's see, they have beaten Pittsburgh 35-14 to start the season, or in the opening block anyway. Beat Paul 31-14, beat Chicago 34-13. So all 3 wins were big wins. 31 points or more scored, and winning by, 17 or more points. And then the losses, lost by a field goal to Arizona. Lost 30-20 to Ed. Lost 21-16 to Zeb. This one hurts. Lost 33-28 to the rebuilding Bucks when you got Tom Brady. That's a tough one. That could happen. Look, those rebuilding teams are, this year anyway, they're not going 0-16. None of these teams are like Masters of 18. They all can do something. Like Tim's got Prescott's not too bad, and he's got the great defensive ends to rush the passer. So it's not like, it's like there's nothing on those teams. So, and then he lost a 2-pointer to the Rams, 5-3. So you talk a 3-point loss, a 5-point loss, a 5-point loss, a 2-point loss. He's 0-4 in these games decided by 5 points or fewer. And his wins have been one-sided, so that's why you see the point differential that way. Now let's see if he can right the ship. He need at least one of those games, probably. Play Seattle. That's Dennis 6-2. Tennessee 4-4. Miami 3-5, but Dan is always tough. Detroit 4-4. Chiefs 4-4. Bengals 5-3. Atlanta 4-4, but chomping at the bit. And Green Bay 4-4. I'll play one losing team the whole second half, and it's Dan. It's 3-5, not a bad team. It's tough to see a road to 6-2. I mean, you got to, it's tough. So I don't think he's going to get there. I mean, I can see him maybe getting close, maybe 5-3, 500. We'll see if he gets there or not, but it's a tough road to hoe. Miami Dolphins, Dan uncharacteristically made some traded some veterans for the future. Knowing that his team wasn't that great this year, still hoping to make something happen. Of course, Dan's very competitive. Team's 3-5. I don't think Dennis and I were predicting much for the Dolphins this year. I had him at 7-9. Dennis had him at 6-10. And Miami is getting outscored by 25. The defense looks like the problem. 7th in the league in scoring, 22.5. But 21st in points allowed. They knew it would be tougher this year after he traded away Calais Campbell and Richard Sherman, the veterans. And that's what he's experiencing. We haven't seen him field this week of a defense in a SOMIFA league. Let's see where he's getting hit there. 19th in yardage allowed, which isn't awful. Not good, but it's not awful. 346. Doing a good job against the run. 106.5 yards allowed. 7th in the league with a 4.2 average. So maybe you should focus on the pass more. He is 21st in opponent rating. The rating of 96. He's giving up 239 yards average per game, which is one of the worst marks in the league. And a lot, just to say it. He gives 66.7 completed, 7.3 average gain. He's got the 15 sacks, 14 TDs, 6 interceptions. Seems like he's trying to use the pass rush like he likes to do to compensate for the weaknesses. And he's maybe not getting those sacks and getting hit downfield more. 5.54 on the line. He plays a 4.3, is that right? 5.54 on the line. Yeah, the 0.44 linebacker. There's a bunch of fours back there. Tough to play defense with that in this flat pass heavy era. And that's what Dan's experiencing. Victories 27-17 over the Bucks in the Battle of Florida. 27-20 over Pitt since been off Jacksonville in SOMIFA. 27-20 over Pitt. 39-17, a big one over the Rams, who are 5-3. The losses, a 1-pointer to Nathan that had to sting. 24-3 to Dale. 35-21 to Dennis. 37-21 to Detroit. 28-16 to Tennessee. So looks like a 3-5 there that you kind of expect. What do we got in the second half? 4-4 Green Bay, 3-5 Giants, 3-5 Chargers, 7-1 Oakland. So there's really a chance there, if you look at the schedule, to say that Dan could get to 6-6. And he does have Alex Collins and Andy Dalton, which can do the job on offense. So if he loses to Oakland, but is able to win these other 3 games, that's hard. Like with my team, when your team is like pretty decent, but not like real good, it's hard to look at like 3 other 4-4 teams and say, oh yeah, I'm going to sweep those guys, or I can sweep those guys. Because you probably shouldn't, you know. It's like you're all kind of 4-4. Why should you sweep 3 games against them? You know, but that's the way you're hoping to do that when you're trying to get back in or trying to get to the playoffs, and you have a mid-level record here at this point in the season. And the last block of games plays the Jets. You circle that one. Plays Kansas City, San Francisco, and Dallas. That's going to be tough. You're 3-5. You get Oakland. You get NFL Ed. You got Zeb playing well. And then you got other teams that aren't bad, really. You know, Green Bay, the Giants, my club, Lawrence overachieving. You know, 6-2. I can't say can't, but it's very unlikely he's going to 6-2 and get into the mini playoffs. I think 4-4 is more likely, or even 3-5. A competitive 6-10, 7-9. I think is what you see for the Dolphins. Let's see what the Giants can do before we get ready to wrap up. The 2-6 teams will not be getting much attention, if any. So my apologies. But I want to watch Dennis's game. I've been doing the show for a while. And it is a midseason review, and all those teams I think were expected to be out of the hunt. I'll probably do a minute or 2 on them anyway. The Joe Golden and the Giants are 3-5. Offense has been the problem. 162 points scored. Well, defense has also been the problem. 204 points allowed, so that's not. The offense is not as bad as I thought with that point total. 14th in the league at 20.3 points per game being scored. 20th in the league at 25.5 points a game being allowed. That is a lot. That is a lot, especially for Joe Golden club. Very sound fundamental coach. Sort of that Jay Villing, Zeb Strong, Wayne Unruh School. Some of these guys like you know, they just play a very solid all around game. You know, they just don't seem like they give you a lot of easy looks. You know, and it tends to work for them. I just named some pretty good coaches there. You know, I admire that. They always seem to be in every game. You know, those guys getting blown out too often. Hopefully I don't see getting blown out now that I said that in the standings. 3-4 defense for Joe. It was 6-4-5, 4-0-6-4, 6-5 a corner, 44 the secondary. So I'd like to think that defense could play a little better than they have. Maybe the schedule's been tough. The offense from scrimmage has been 6th in the league in yardage, which is nice. 8th in the league in rushing. Only 18th in the league in rating. The 4 touchdowns are an issue. I bet Joe's red zone numbers are low, not what you want them to be, perhaps. 70% is not too bad. But the other guys got 84. Boy, Alex Smith only has 2 touchdown passes. But Mitchell Trubisky's got 2. The great Mitchell Trubisky. 13 rushing touchdowns, 4 passing. Interesting. Joe doesn't want to hit that 9 on the defensive card, I guess. None of us do. It's always scary to get down there. You start thinking about those short passes. Dennis doesn't seem to care. What do you do? Dennis always seems to press the right buttons. Defensively, the Giants 17th in the league. So hopefully that can pick up a little bit. We're getting hurt against the run, 145 yards allowed per game, near the bottom of the league. Opponent passer rating of 95 is not good. 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 193 yards per game isn't too bad. He only has 3 sacks. Not a lot of pass rush on that club. Let's see what he started out 1-3, so he at least treaded water in the second block to get to 3-5. The victory is 23-16 over the Bears, 24-21 over Zeb. It's a good one. 16-7 over Detroit, 4-4 the losses. 34-17 to Dennis, 31-20, a close one to the 7-1 Raiders. 27-22, close one to Jay, 5-3. 24-15 against Ed. 44-17 against Paul. Probably some hard luck in that game. Plays Tennessee 4-4, Miami 3-5, Green Bay 4-4, and the Jets 4-4. So some opportunity there for some W's. Arizona 7-1, Pittsburgh 4-4, Denver 2-6, Colts 3-5. So Joe's got a chance. I don't think his team is great though. I mean, you got Alex Smith, I'm assuming, as a starting quarterback. They got Mitchell Trubisky listed here. Maybe Joe's trolling me. But he likes the running. That sexy around Mitchell. But Alex has been getting most of the playing time. Alex Smith, Wayne Gallman, Isaiah Crowell, C.J. Anderson, decent line. The defense we looked at earlier, it's not a bad team. Tennessee, Miami, Green Bay, the Jets. I always like Joe's coaching. Arizona, Pittsburgh. There's a path there. There's a chance. You can't do it every year. And I think he started out 3-5 or 2-6 a year or two ago and made a run and got into the playoffs. You can't ask a team to do it every year. So he might fall short of maybe 8-8 or God forbid 7-9. But I think he can get in. I think he can get into 6-2, get into the mini playoffs. I really do. There's no one. Mixed had the best team in that schedule. He's only 4-4. And there's some warts on these other teams. Well, Arizona's 7-1, but so we'll see what Joe can do. Yeah, I think he might get in there. Might make that 6-2 run, and he might be the 3-5 team that gets into at least the mini playoffs. We'll see. And he rounding out the bottom 4 are the 2-6 clubs. We got 4 teams, 2-6. We're fighting for playoff for drafting positioning. Tony would like to get up there. He's got Eli Manning and Jimmy Garoppolo, so he wouldn't mind getting his hands on Baker Mayfield, for example. Tim's got Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes, but that would not stop him from drafting a young quarterback if you liked him, and nor should it really. I mean, a young quarterback, if he's good, is extremely valuable. So if there's a guy up there and you really like him, and you're already there, you could draft him. Or you can make one of those mega trades. So we'll see. Tim's looking in good shape with that rebuild with Mahomes and some developing players that I like in the club. And Tim does a good job putting his team together, so they won't be down here for long. Same can be said about most of these guys. So Scott, especially with Buffalo. Buffalo's 2-6, started the feisty 2-2. but then dropped 4 games in the second block of the season, never scoring more than 17 points. Scored 50 points total. And that's basically down here. Your 4 worst teams this year in record are 2 and 6. You got 2 teams that can't score, Buffalo and Chicago, and 2 teams that are playing poor defense, Denver and Tampa Bay. So kind of choose your poison. And Buffalo's 22nd in the league in scoring. Denver's 20th. And Tampa Bay and Denver are 23rd and 24th in the league in points allowed. And just for good measure, Denver and Tampa are -7 and -9 in turnovers. So even though their offense isn't that bad as their defense, the turnover differential is still hurting them. So not a lot to look at here. I don't think these teams are going anywhere. Buffalo, San Fran, Tampa Bay, Atlanta. Doesn't really matter. San Fran, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Arizona, Tennessee, Denver, Cincinnati, Oakland. The Bears are probably they're probably the best team in this group. We predicted these teams after that means much. The Bears, we had 7 and 9 each. Denver, I had 7 and 9. Dennis had 6 and 10. Tampa, I had 4 and 12. Dennis had 6 and 10. Buffalo, I had 5 and 11. Dennis had 6 and 10. So none of them predicted for 500, certainly. Chicago plays Oakland, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Kansas City, Green Bay, Seattle, Dallas, and the Jets. Circle that game. If I say something bad about your team in the show. Denver started off 2 and 2, lost all 4 second quarter games. See, Buffalo did the same, but Buffalo knew he wasn't going anywhere this year. I think Tony, with Garoppolo and some other moves he made, thought he could have a decent season. It has not materialized that way. The defense has really been getting hit. Worst in the league, 215 points allowed. Let's see what they look like here on paper. 6-5-4, 4-5-4-4, 6 at corner, 4-4-4. So maybe should not be doing quite so badly. Not a lot of pass rush, a lot of low ratings, but maybe there's some bad luck there. Who knows? And actually, from a scrimmage, they're 20th. They're not last. They're down there in the points allowed. So the 20th looks like the pass defense is really hurting him. 22nd in opponent quarterback rating. He only has 2 interceptions. That hurts. 64.5 completed. 6.7 average. There's 5 sacks. 2 interceptions and 5 sacks. That's not going to win you a lot of games. That's for sure. The run defense is 20th. So in yards allowed, but he's losing a lot of games, giving up a lot of points. So some of that yardage is garbage time yardage. Denver plays Rams, Jets, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Colts, Buffalo, Giants, Frisco. So Denver's got some chances for some wins here. Tampa Bay defense also struggling. I think he's got really good defensive ends, and like the rest of the defense is really weak for the season. Yeah, 6-4-4-4. The linebacker, you're playing a 4-3, linebacker 0-0-4. Secondary full of 4s. Defensive tackle 4s, but again, he's not, not going for the year. By Cincy, Buffalo, Dallas, Houston, Minnesota, Atlanta, Green Bay, the Chiefs. And I think Tampa Bay and Buffalo have got the inside track. Probably Tampa Bay's got the inside track for the number 1 pick, I would say, based on the team, So we'll see. And if interesting time of the draft next year. I think Mayfield will be the number 1. We'll see. I wonder if the opinions on Darnold will be a little mixed or not. A lot of up and down for him this year. He's hurt right now. But, then where does Barkley go? Would a guy like Tim who has Mahomes say, I like Barkley. I'll just stay put and take Barkley. Who knows? And then after that, Denzel Ward, is Bradley Chubb going to be like a 0-5? Who knows? But of course, I'm getting away from a season review and talking about rookies and prospects, which I love doing. So it's interesting to see how it goes. And you got the other quarterbacks in the mix. Where does Josh Rosen go? So we'll see. So there's your show. Very interesting season so far. I'll try to send Ed the file here with the midseason stats, team rankings. and take it from there. Maybe I get a chance to call a game this block. I'm not doing as much of that as I used to do, but I did do this show, so maybe I'll do something. And I would like to do something for SOMIFA. I mean, maybe something with some playoff ramifications. A 4-4 against a good 5-3 team we don't usually see. Like the Rams have not been on SOMIFA prime time. Rams Cincinnati, they're both 5-3. It's not a bad one. Maybe. So let's see if Tennessee can get going. Against the Niners. Could be. So let's see what happens. All right, guys. This is Tom. Thanks for your time. Happy Thanksgiving. Good night and good luck, as the man once said.